Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith. We're going to be unboxing a game called Dungeon Alliance today. This is a game by Andrew Parks. Really excited to look into this one. We're going to flip this over, take a look at the back of the box first, and then we're going to dive in, take a look at the components inside. Form your alliance, build your deck, conquer the dungeon. In the days before the void consumed much of the old world, there were stalwart humans, elves, dwarves, and gnomes who banded together to invade the deep places of the earth. These heroes forged unbreakable alliances in search of knowledge, treasure, and glory. Rival adventuring parties would often descend into the same dungeon, and these companies fought one another as fiercely as they battled the monsters that lurked behind every dark corner. These were daring times when nothing in the world was considered more sacred than the oath that bound those who shared the dangers of the pit together. This was the age of the Dungeon Alliance. Dungeon Alliance is a deck-building, dungeon-crawling miniatures adventure game that allows players to send 1 to 4 different teams of adventurers into perilous dungeons in search of experience and treasure. There are options for competitive, cooperative, and solo play, and that's exactly what I'm focusing on here. At the start of the game, each player drafts his or her own team of 4 heroes and uses tactical movement and card play to overcome the dungeon's monsters and acquire treasures. Rival teams may compete with one another to slay monsters or even battle one another for complete domination. When the sun greets those who emerge from the pit, only one Dungeon Alliance will prove victorious. When you first go ahead and open up Dungeon Alliance, you're going to be greeted with the rulebook. And quickly, I'm going to flip this over to the back side of it so you can see what's there. It talks specifically about the solo and cooperative play icons. So this is very important for those interested in the solo play. It has a section 1, top player must perform indicated activity if possible, section 2, and then a player must perform one of the 2 indicated activities if possible across these areas. Section 3 is otherwise. So you'll be following this if you're playing in that format, which is what I'm mainly focused on here. And you'll also note at the bottom of the rulebook, 24 pages deep to get a good understanding of Dungeon Alliance. So flipping this open to the very first page to give you an idea of how the rules are laid out, we have a nice introduction page here, the object of the game, components. There's 25 dungeon tiles in the game. We'll see each of those as we go through this unboxing. Dungeon frame segments. This is another cool aspect. You'll be building out the dungeon as you play through the game. Hero cards, there are 17. You've got race icons right here for human, dwarf, elf, gnome, and half-orc, and you've got your class icons for martial, stealth, eldritch, celestial, or primordial, if I'm saying those all correctly. Hero tokens, 17, hero figures, and snap-on bases. This is really going through a bunch of the components as well, just to give you an overview of how things are laid out. But hopefully this gives you a good idea as to how the rulebook actually presents itself. It doesn't look like too bad of a read, and the font is quite nice and large. There are pictures so far through this, and I'm wondering if that actually kind of ramps up as it gets further and further into the heavier parts of the rulebook. There appears to be quite a bit of text actually versus pictures in terms of a comparison here, and you're already through the end phase by this point. You're talking about some of the more minor issues in the back here. You got your battle section and monster movement happening here. Again, here's some good examples in terms of movements concerned about how to move around. These are the types of visual aids you're going to want to see in a rulebook. That's essentially the gist of the Dungeon Alliance rulebook. Again, remember, 24 pages, so not an overly heavy read, but as I mentioned, more words than pictures, so that's something to be aware of. Right here we have what's called a rules supplement. So this rules supplement offers strategy hints as well as variants that allow you to customize Dungeon Alliance to your taste, essentially. You must read the full rulebook first in order to understand the additional rules in this supplement, but this supplement basically is going to add into more content for Dungeon Alliance as to how you could play this game out. So you've got basic game rules on this page. You have cooperative. This is what I'm interested in as well. Variant for choosing, or sorry, the very first thing is choosing your team standard game. You have variants in terms of hero drafting rules or variants in terms of upgrading your deck. You have your cooperative game rules over here. You have Nightmare solo competitive play, or cooperative play. That's actually really cool to see that you can kind of ramp this up to the next difficulty level if you're looking for a greater challenge in the game. Permadeath rules, that's pretty awesome. Endgame rewards, quests. I've heard that this game is quite the brain burner as well. There's lots of very, very intense decisions to make throughout this one, so I am very, very intrigued by that. And love the fact that the solo and cooperative was built in from the get-go. You even got a campaign mode that you can potentially play. This thing runs about 12 pages or so when it's all said and done. The last page of this is talking about the deep dungeon final enemy room. It has some reference tables here for different levels. Next up, we're going to go through all of the tile sheets in the game. There are quite a few of them, so you're going to have lots of dungeon tiles, lots of damage tokens, status tokens, enemy tokens. I won't be going through every single one of these in detail, but I will be going through each of these sheets to give you an idea of what's inside the game here. So here is the front of this first sheet of tokens. Flipping this over to the opposite side, it looks like this. You have Dungeon Alliance level 1 areas of the dungeon, and then most of these are reversed from the opposite side or just blanked out. And they actually have, I'll just flip this back over so you can see on the opposite side just for comparison purposes. Flipping down the line to the next tile sheet, we see the back to start. We'll flip it over to the front side, and again, like I mentioned before, very different colors going on here. This is something I'll be learning about, is the different color variations and what they actually mean. But I have noticed here on some of the enemies, we got red, blue, green, and yellow. So maybe dependent on where the enemy is, based on which level they're in, that could actually change things. We have levels right here on the back of the tiles, letting you know. So that's gonna be very interesting. Got XP tokens all over the place here. Next up we have, ooh, look at this, a red room, green room, blue room, and yellow room. We'll flip this over to the opposite side, check out what's over here. So, starting tiles makes perfect sense. And again, more tokens on the outside that we've seen before. Okay, what's up now? We've got, looks like these could be NPC, they could be enemies, they could be hero tokens, I'm not sure, but there are miniatures in the game, but there are all kinds of little NPC or character tokens for some reason or other. We've got the draft bonus chart here for drafted cards, discard limit, hand size. We have different player connectors I've seen for 2-player, 3-player, and I imagine solo will show up soon too. 4-player down here, challenge tokens. So lots and lots of stuff to kind of dive through. Wow, this is also very, very colorful in terms of the punch-out sheets. All right, we got a couple black ones right here. I wonder what's on the other side of these. What is on this side over here? We've got ourselves flame traps, lightning traps. So these are just traps in general. Mentor, so these are more maybe NPCs. Treasure chests, guild meetings. This is really crazy. There's lots going on here. Flipping this over to this other side here, we have a player 4 connector, 3 to 4 player connector. Some draft bonus charts. Again, these are probably for reference for each of the players actually playing the game. If you're playing solo, you probably only need 1. Lots of tokens. I'll be punching this thing forever. Oh, look at that. We got some fancy gold tokens. Now, I'll probably proxy these out and find some gold tokens myself because I always like using actual metal coins. It just feels that much more awesome. Looks like this could be a first player token, but I could also be wrong on that. Got a tile there, another one of these draft bonus charts. And you can see these tiles are ready to come out. They're popping right out, no problem. This is a level 3 tile right here, that one that we just went past, this one here, so that's good to note. All right, next up, we got more dungeon tiles, because if I remember in the rulebook, it said 25 of them in total, so quite a bit. I'll flip this over to the opposite side. Ooh, this is almost attached still. That is literally still attached. There we go, we've broken them apart. So we got level 1 across, level 2, and more tokens. Because those were attached, I'll bring this other one back in here. Some more level 2s, some more monsters to fight. Flipping this over, this is what those rooms look like, and it looks like they actually mentioned the level of the room on the tile at the front as well. Some more of these tiles, just tokens everywhere. And then, after all that, we get to the very bottom of the box here, or almost the bottom, because this box is actually quite full. Now this right here, I have no idea what that's for. Could be just a straight up piece of cardboard, could be useful for something. We've also got some Ziploc bags, which are always nice to see in a game like this, especially for organizing things. We have these square chips. Now, based on the number of people that can play this game, it would make sense with green, yellow, blue, and red that each of the players are going to have these. We've got some cards underneath here, cards here. We got cards everywhere. 3 decks of them, actually, that we're going to go through. But first, how about we go ahead and we take a quick look. Oh, there's even a die here. Let's go ahead first and take a look at what's inside this box. My guess is some miniatures. Here is an up-close view of the 5 miniatures representative of the heroes within the game. This is in the first level of that cardboard box that I've opened up. There's more miniatures underneath. Detail-wise in these miniatures, they're pretty good. Underneath the miniatures that I just showed you, I found all kinds more, including some color ring bases as well. I'll just go ahead and pan across all of these different miniatures that were at the bottom of that brown box once I opened it up. So there are 2 trays full of miniatures inside of Dungeon Alliance. Here's an up-close look at the wooden die that comes inside of Dungeon Alliance. Quite nice. Nice and light, being that it's wood. And very easy and clear to see the actual numerical value once it's rolled. A nice die overall. Now let's take a look at the 3 packs of cards that come inside the game. We have Bursts of Strength, another Burst of Strength card, Game Rounds, a bunch of summary. These are always really handy to have when you're a new player to a new game. We have some cards that I absolutely could not explain at this point in time, but will be useful later on. These could potentially be the AI for, solo and cooperative play. That's probably exactly what they are. That was a good guess. So that is what those are likely. I'm just going to see if I can skim through a majority of these, as I believe that's still all the same pile. Yes. So those are going to be interesting for people that want to pick it up solo-wise. You have a whole deck specific to that. We have some cards here. Again, I won't be able to speak too much to the abilities or the numerical values I'm seeing, but at least you can take in the art and the text on the cards. A Trapper's Plan. The artwork is really nice. I do like it quite a bit. The Goblin King. Ooh, what are these ones? These are considered to be Dark Empress. These could be quest-based. I'm not 100% sure, or they could be specific to what they're saying on the front. No, they're all the same. So there might be quests that you go on in this one. That'll be the interesting thing. Defense, attack cards. Mad Charge. Savage Hurl. Rise the Fallen. Interesting. Shadowlight. I'm going to put these ones down here as we continue on. Now, what are these ones representing? Oh, these are just basic cards. So maybe these are cards that actually end up in your hand that you're using. So you got attack cards here. A bunch of those. Potion of Minor Healing. Imagine you're going to need that in the dungeon. That'll probably be very helpful to survive. Surge Forward. Looks like it gives you lots of movement. Reflex is a reaction. You may play this card after an attack is made against you. That is going to round out that first deck. So now we get to become a little more familiar with the heroes inside the game. Again, they have miniatures that represent them, but these are the hero cards. So we got the Dwarf Priest here. We got a Human Warrior. We have a Human Monk. A Half-Orc Monk. A Human Paladin. An Elf Wizard. Dwarf Warrior. Half-Orc Assassin, Half-Orc Priest, Dwarf Assassin, Gnome Druid, Gnome Ranger, Human Wizard, Dwarf Scholar, Elf Druid, Gnome Scholar, and Elf Rogues. Now those last hero cards came from the second deck of cards we're going through. This was the rest of them, more of these regular Dungeon Alliance cards. Let's go through them one at a time here. We got Blessing card, Minor Healing, Wise Counsel, Slash, Stamina, Evade, Open Hand Attack, Meditate, Counter Strike. Very, very interesting looking artwork. It's good in uniform all the way around, so I do like that. Doesn't seem to be a very vast changing of the artwork between cards, which I like. So it's all very, very in the same vein, which is nice. And in terms of the card text, it is actually quite heavy. On some of the cards, there's a lot of text there. There's some icons being used to kind of help probably tame that down, but some of those cards are pretty intense. Like this one here, Maneuver, for instance, probably a simplistic card maybe, but it has a lot of text to read. So that's something to be aware of. You're going to be reading a little bit in terms of the cards that'll be in your hand. Point Blank, Rapid Fire, Track, Fire Blast. That's a really cool looking card. That's awesome. Flaming Weapon, Force Shield, Deep Knowledge, Lightning Strike, Ensnare. Just appreciating the artwork, as well as every once in a while just glancing down at the abilities to get a better idea as to how these cards work. Farsighted, Tactical Advantage. I can tell you right now, my right hand is getting completely full to the point I feel like dropping everything on the floor. There is a lot of cards in each of these decks, but there's only one more to go after this, but hopefully this is giving you a good idea as to what you can expect card-wise inside the game. And last but not least, the final deck of cards. The Eldritch Ward is where we're starting out. Fury, Ray of Healing. There's not too many duplicates once you get into these cards. There's a lot of unique ones in here. The Gold Key, that sounds useful. Potion of Healing, Helm of Guidance, Ring of Command, Forethought, Endurance, Savagery, Innovation, Major Healing. There we go. We're probably getting to some of the more powerful cards, that would be my guess. Could be wrong, though. There is some leveling going on down here in the bottom of the card, so I don't know if that's limited to where you are in the dungeon or your character. That'll be interesting to find out as well. And, you know, can you obtain those higher level cards, or do you have to basically meet criteria? I imagine, of course, you have to meet some type of criteria. Inspire, Quick Thinking. That is really funny. Okay, yeah. That actually kind of looks like Q-U-I-E-K. From where I'm standing, that's why it kind of threw me a little bit, but it is definitely a C. Iron Golem, that's pretty cool. Oh, we got some treasures and pets here. That's pretty awesome. Artifacts. Oh, look at this thing. Gauntlet of Dark Iron. Blackwood Arrow. Artifacts in the treasures are looking pretty good. Gotta have some pretty cool looking artifacts and treasures when you're talking a game that's about dungeon crawling. Ooh, here we go. Get some enemy cards. Maybe these are all specific to the enemies now. Who knows? This particular card, if I flip it over, is Encounters. Ooh, they can pop up. So that's probably how you pull those tiles that relate to these. So Goblin is one. You've got giant spiders. You got zombies, bugbears. So many different things that can potentially come after you, and none of them seem to be all that nice. Don't think any of them are going to really be happy to see you. But a nice mix of very interesting creatures. And now we're going to get into some of the traps. The Pit Trap, the Dart Trap, the Flame Trap. Actually, I'm going to give you, I'll go a little slower, so if you want to pause the screen and actually read those trap descriptions, these could be quite interesting, actually. The Arrow Wall Trap, the Lightning Trap. These are pretty cool. Setting traps is always fun. Treasure Chest. Ooh, Lock Chest. Even chests that are locked, that's cool. Hero Activation cards, so move, attack, draft, and discard, and draw. I don't know if there's anything else in the back. There is a movement-based. I'll flip one over, or I'll throw one away actually instead. Flip this over here, take a look at the back of this. You get an idea as to movement. Burst of Strength. So that is it for the third deck. And that is going to complete the unboxing for Dungeon Alliance. I really hope this helps you get an idea of what you're going to find inside the box, and also helping you make a decision on whether this is something you want to pick up. Thanks again for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.